Daf 46, Daf Memvav of Likkutei Torah Sefer Yikra. We're in the Maimer about the difference between engraved word and written word, Parshas Bechukosai, starting from a space of the beer. So engraved word represents the deeper level of thought. Within speech, certainly the words are separate from the person who is speaking. Even within thought, the lower level of thought is where the thought is already within words, and therefore it's separate from the person himself. Whereas the deeper level of thought is where you don't notice words, you just notice the idea, the concept that is thinking about, and that's closer to his essence. But that's not really the case, because yes, the concept is close to his power of intellect, but it's not close to his soul itself. And therefore, a better example, a better metaphor would be one of the ability to pronounce words, pronounce letters. We don't know how our mouth is moving. It just automatically moves to the right place to pronounce the letter and the word that we're trying to pronounce. So that comes from the subconscious mind and the soul itself. Unlike ideas that are in the conscious mind. And because it's in the subconscious, it's at a higher level and more one with the soul. And that's like the engraved word, where the words are not separate from the stone. They're part of the stone itself. Unlike the written word, where the ink is separate from the surface, from the parchment itself. So now Gimel. So now we can apply this to the difference between the luchos and the Torah. The Torah is written, whereas the luchos are engraved. Now, in Zohar, it says that the beginning of creation was Hashem engraving in Torah law, and making a mark. And why engraving? Because it starts off where everything is one with Hashem. All existence is one with Hashem. Then when worlds begin to form, so then there's separate existence. Even if the world is that there are four worlds in general, from Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Ta'asiyah. And although the highest world, Atzilus, is very holy and very much godly, but still it's an existence of world. And therefore in that way it's separate. Unlike Ein Sof, Hashem's unlimited light, that is Hashem himself. It's not separate at all. And therefore worlds, spiritual worlds, are represented by the written word. Unlike the Ein Sof, Hashem's unlimited light, that is like Hashem himself. It's like the stone itself. But the end of that, which in Kabbalah is called Keser, the crown, so that represents the sort of intermediary, the medium, the transition from pure godliness to separate existence, or at least defined existence, which may aspire to godliness and may be connected to Hashem, but it still has a separate definition. So Keser is that transition point, and therefore Keser is like engraved words, which on one hand they are engraved. You're not just leaving the stone in its pristine pure state, but on the other hand you're not bringing anything which is not the stone. So in that way it's still totally one. And when a person has a new idea that just hits him, so where did that idea come from? That idea came from the beyond, that came from like the Keser, so to speak. Whereas when you're thinking about something and developing something, that's within your conscious mind. Now, there's a famous story with Moshe, where he saw the future, how the great Rabbi Akiva, who was one of the greatest in Torah ever, but then he saw his end and how he was murdered. He was executed by the Romans and first tortured to death. And Moshe said, how can this be? Zu Torah v'zu schar, is this Torah and its reward? And Hashem said, quiet. This is what was decided. This is what came up in my thoughts. Coming up in the thought represents the subconscious mind, whereas Moshe is the ultimate of the conscious mind. And therefore Moshe couldn't understand it. The written Torah is the conscious mind, whereas the luchos, which were engraved, they are the subconscious, the beyond, the keser. And that's why they are given on Shavuos, or at least they were stated at Shavuos, because Shavuos is the time of revelation of keser, of Hashem as he is beyond worlds. And that's also why there are 620 letters in the Aseret HaDibros, in the Ten Commandments, because 620 is the numerical value of keser. The name given for this light beyond, as it transitions and as it prepares for worlds.